After connecting to your G4 locally, go up here to your Collect button. After clicking the Collect button, you should have your device ID and your device ID, or which would be the same name for your one measurement tube. So in this case, I have one measurement tube turned on my XFC G4, and it has the same name as my station ID. And underneath this flow measurement tube, I have some choices that I can make. So I have characteristics, daily records, log records, and events. I also have a trend file that was built later in the tutorial, and I can collect the trend file at the same time. So when you get to that portion, you can collect the trend file and view it or output the file. So the next thing we need to look at is the outputs, and you can see this is kind of broke up into three boxes. We have the output section, we have the range section, and then we have some custom output files here. And so the first one we're going to look at is a laptop file. And when we collect historical data, it automatically creates a laptop file for us, and so that's why it's grayed out, letting you know that you are in fact collecting a laptop file. But we could output to the screen, so if we check the box here that says screen, after we collect this data, it's going to populate to the screen and we can go through and look at it. So that's what I'm going to do for this tutorial. We can also output to our archive database. We can output to DOS meter file or TF data file or long-term database, and then since I am in fact collecting a trend, I could also output the trend database. The range, by default, all data, or I could check last and then put in amount of days that I want to grab. And so by default 30 days. So I'm going to go back to all data and just grab everything out of this G4 that's in there. And then down here at the bottom I have spreadsheet log period file, spreadsheet daily, totals, and then if you were going to do a Totalflow or ASCII file, you could also choose those. Now from this directory we could choose the help, and from here this should be context sensitive and will fill us in on how to do exactly what we're talking about step by step, and then it should also fill us in on what each one of the files do for us. Okay, so there's ASCII and the Totalflow and so forth. Now if I do collect a spreadsheet, then we could go out to the directory where it saves the spreadsheet and take a look at it. And same way with the laptop file. You're asking where is this laptop file going to be saved, so I'm going to take a second and show you that. Come up here to your setup button, drop that down. Let's jump over to directory paths, and right here I have data file path. It's under C:\PCCU7\PCCU data, and then it's going to be / and then the name of my flow computer, and then that would be my laptop file that we're actually collecting. And then the same way with the archive directory, long-term database, and then also the spreadsheet file. And so you can see each one of them has a directory path. And so after we make our choices in the historical collection window, it's going to send it to these directory paths, and then this is the default that I have set up here. You could browse at this point and find a specific place that you wanted to send, say the laptop file for example. You would just choose that here. So I'm going to cancel that and go ahead and close out. So I made my selections, I'm ready to go. And then as far as printing the trend, we could do tabular or the graph layout, and same way with the spreadsheet trend. So in this case everything is set up and ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the collect button. Okay, so it's collected Totalflow now. I'm going to go ahead and make that big, and you can see that over here on the left side I have my device ID, and Totalflow is my flow measurement tube. And here are the tabs by default. We get daily flow data, and you can see it's per day, and then we get differential, static, temperature, volume, energy, all the way out to our high and low set points and so forth. If we wanted to go to the next meter, you have previous and next meter. So if we collected more than one, we could move right and left there. The next one over, log period, looks the same way. It gives me the log period records for 4/19/2010, and then I can get previous or next day previous or next meter, and then I could also set that to output the graph. If I look at the events, this gives me time and date stamp, event description, old value, new value, and characteristic. This kind of tells me how my meter was set up, what the device ID was, what the location is, contract hour, the date and time that it was collected, all the way through some of the basic characteristic data like flow rate, accumulated volume, battery, and so forth, some of the settings. And so we could scroll down here and show you some of these things. Okay, then I'm going to jump over to daily flow detail, and this would give me my alarms detected for the day, date and time stamp, contract hour, and then a daily summary, and then once again log period. So in this case it's every 60 minutes or every hour, so I can scroll between the hours and it would give me the same information. And then I have an added file here that was created in the report section of this tutorial, so we'll skip that one for now. I'm going to jump down to current values and show you the trend file that was created. So this is the trend file that was created later in the tutorial, and so here is flow rate, temperature, differential static charger, battery on a graph, and then I can also view it based off of the tabular data coming in. So now that this is collected, I'm going to go ahead and close out, and I'm going to go out to the laptop file utilities, and that's up here at the top. You should have a button that says laptop file utility. Go ahead and open this one, and today I collected Totalflow right here, and this was collected today 9/14/2010, 14:06, and this is going out and referencing C:\PCCU7\PCCU data. So that's the folder that it was in when we checked our directory paths. And so here, once I've highlighted it, I can view, I can output again, or I could build reports. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the view button and show you that. And so this looks exactly like what we saw immediately after it came back to the screen. So if you didn't choose output to screen, you can browse out, find your laptop file, and go ahead and bring it in and view it the same way I'm doing here. Also with outputs, if you wanted to send it to a spreadsheet and you hadn't checked that box, you can go ahead and go out and grab your laptop file and then do this output to spreadsheet from here, and then put in your date range or all data, and then say OK, and that will send it off to a spreadsheet. Okay, so 1 meter attempted, 1 FCU meter processed. We'll come back to reports. This is actually another section in the tutorial, but we'll build reports based off of the historical collected data that we just received. So I'm going to browse out here now to my Explorer, to my C drive. Okay, and under local disk C, I'm going to come down to PCCU7, and then under PCCU7 we should have one called spread SH, and then inside here I'm going to go into archive. Okay, and so inside archive, this was the spreadsheet boxes that were checked on the output, and so we have one right here called Totalflow from 4/19/2010. I also have some other files that are created, the hourly totalflow.csv at 4/19, and then I have a daily Totalflow from 4/19, and so let me just give you an example of this. Let's go ahead and grab daily here. Okay, so this is a .csv format, and you can see it has my meter or station ID, the date and time it was collected, and then DP static, temperature, volume, and so forth. And from here I could go ahead and just save this and send it, email it, and that makes it easy. So I'm going to go ahead and close out and say no, and I'm going to jump down and show you the hourly of the same unit. Okay, and this was the trend file that we created, and you can see the time and date stamp and DP static, temperature, volume. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and X out of this one to close it, and I'm going to go into the Totalflow folder, and here we have current values, This was the trend file that we actually created from this meter. And then let me go ahead and show you this one. Okay, so right here we have the time and date stamp. We also have my device ID, battery voltage, charger, static diff, temperature, flow rate, and you can see those as they trended over so many records. I think I had 250 records, 300 records, something like that. So anyway, I could go also zip this up, email it, and anybody with Excel could view it. So this is collecting historical data, and you direct your path to where it's saved, and then going into your laptop file utility and grabbing this file. We can view it, we can output it, and then we'll come back and talk a little more about reports later in this section. So this concludes historical collection.